What's up, guys? Chasing Lamely here, and we've got yet more FM26 news. They have released a tactics reveal on YouTube for us to dissect. So let's get into it. We're using the footage from the video because they haven't yet updated the website. It's going to make it a bit more complicated. We can see here the new tactics screen, the new tactics setup we've got being shown at Manchester City here. And the big headline is that we now have in possession, out of possession, combined tactics as well, which is going to really change how we manage in FM. Because our in-possession tactic, obviously, is where you set up your most attacking thing. Your out of possession is where you set up your defensive shape. And this is something I've been hoping for in FM for years, because I like a team that is solid in defense and hits well on the counter-attack. And it's never been possible to properly implement that with the current tactical system. So I like the idea that I can have, say, a 4-3-3 in attack, but then maybe I can go to something with, I don't know, wing backs as outlets, like a 5-3-2 or a 5-2-1-2 or whatever you want to call it. Just something that I can use to improve the shape of my team at all phases. The other thing I like is that now we've got these dual player roles for attacking and defensive. We'll get into those properly in a second. But it's going to mean signing players who can play in multiple positions and play in those positions well is going to be really, really important. We can see here that, like, Jeffrey Doku is very, very good as a winger, but not so good as a wide midfielder. And then we've got Phil Foden here, who is a great inside forward. Not great as, I think this is a new player. I think this is a tracking wide midfielder off the top of my head. But you can see, like, that disparity, and like those players out of position are probably not as effective defensively. So maybe you want to bring in a guy that can do both as well as each other and build your shape around that. I won't go through the entire video purely because the video is very long and it's a lot of showing us nothing. So we're going to have to skip around because there's a lot of talking about nothing. You can watch the talking about nothing, but you beat yourself if you want to on FM's own channel. But let's just get into looking at what we can learn here. And this shows a little bit more of what we're talking about here, is that we can see here with the in possession blown up that Phil Foden cannot play as a right winger or right-sided midfielder. Jeffrey Doku can't play as a left-sided midfielder. So having those guys back here out of possession is actually weakening your defense in some respects. And maybe that's a thing you want to pay more attention to. Maybe out of possession, you would like Phil Foden to slot in here, perhaps as a Mezzala. You might want Bernardo Silva to go out wide instead. You might want Jeffrey Doku to go and play alongside Erling Haaland as an outlet and just kind of build your team there. Also, these DMM-AMC players are going to become so valuable. Same with like the Rodris that can play in centre defence as well as midfield. Same as Rico Lewis who can play in the, just because of the tactical flexibility. And realistically, you could have Rico Lewis when you're in possession pushing up to join the midfield, maybe playing as that kind of Segundo Volante there. You could have Ait Nouri moving up to be a left wing back. You could have Gvardiol pushing out to cover that whilst you're in possession if they've got a particularly good right winger that could maybe exploit that space in behind. Maybe that's the way you would use Gvardiol there. I mean, it would be wild if you did, but you can see some of the flexibility we're talking about. It kind of flashes through things quickly back and forth. So you again get to see that out of possession. There's nothing massively new on this screen otherwise. We've got the next team in 5 days drop down here, but I don't see anything massively jumping out at me as being extravagantly new. So we'll skip forward for the next screenshot they've chosen to give us, if we can find it, because we're using the precise seeking because I don't want to play the video in the background. It just takes too long. There we go. We've got Phil Foden's player screen here. I think we start with the in possession here so we can get an idea of what he's doing. And we can actually see some of the new roles in here as well. So you can have him as an attacking midfielder playing a free role, which is nice. It gives him a chance to float around the midfield here. The channel midfielder would be, I would assume, essentially an attacking box-to-box, but we'll find out more when we get into the game. That's all going to be really interesting stuff to check out. Again, nothing particularly new on this page. I like that they have rejigged this. This looks a bit like the space skin, which I like. I mean, I've been using it for FM24 because I really like it. So I'm glad they've done that. We can kind of see some of the other new roles for an attacking midfielder here. So a splitting outlet attacking midfielder presumably is a guy who is going to go off to one side to give an option for a long clearance. Standard attacking midfielder, a central outlet obviously would stay there, but they would stay this side of the halfway line. And then a tracking attacking midfielder might follow a defender around, would presumably be some kind of man-marking role, would be my guess. We've got Rico Lewis, we can take a look at as obviously some more of our roles. So we've got now a playmaking wingback, which is really interesting. That's kind of a very Trent role, isn't it? It's a very Trent Alexander-Arnold kind of role to have introduced into the game, which is nice. And an inside fullback presumably is the same as an old inverted fullback. And inside wingback, you'd assume, will be the inverted wingback that we had previously. I think they've just slightly renamed that, so that's going to be interesting. And then out of possession, we get this pressing fullback, obviously, is going to press the winger. A holding fullback who might just stay in position, and then a fullback just generally doing fullbacky things in defence. Then we move on to Jeremy Doku, who we're going to see some of the in-possession, out-of-possession roles here. We have options also. We've got a playmaking winger, which was obviously an advanced playmaker. I think that confused a lot of people in FM24. I think that's why they've renamed it, because no one could quite figure out how to properly use that. The idea of a wide forward as well as an inside forward is interesting, because a wide forward is a very kind of old-fashioned, I'm thinking sort of 30s, 40s, 50s kind of role, where you'd have your like 5-man attack. So presumably, as a wide forward, they would just stay wide, but they would push further forward towards sort of the corner flag area, whereas an inside forward, you're looking for the cut-in inside the centre halves and provide support for your striker, which gives us more tactical options, which we like to see. I don't know why we didn't see. There we go. We've got the out of possession. So the TW was a tracking winger. We have the wide outlet winger, the inside outlet winger again, staying this side of the halfway line, you would assume defensively, and then just one being a winger. Just gives it a little bit extra to play with. And we're looking for the next screenshot, which we've got there. There we go. So this is our in possession roles for players, and you can see we've got like this visualizer, which is going to be really helpful for us, because we can see how the player is going to move with what they've been told, with what they can do, but presumably because it tells you the player's key attributes as well as the role you've selected them for. I would hope the visualizer would update itself to kind of better show how that player's going to move. Like presumably you would hope if I stuck a random centre half in here in this role, this dot here becomes clueless. You would hope would become the thing. But I like the fact that it explains a little bit here about what these guys are doing when they're playing these roles, just to give you that extra like tooltip to help out. And then we've got the out of possession here. I think did it show me an out of possession? I don't think it did. So we've got a central midfielder now. We've got the screening central midfielder, which is a role that essentially just helps to steady up the defense, tries to block passes. It might be a role you want to switch a player into. I think they've done this here with Silver. I think I didn't pay that much attention. I think this is Silver they've switched into this role here, but you can see here what the attributes change. The tackling becomes important, as you would expect with that kind of role. It's just very nice to have that kind of flexibility. I think building a tactic this year is going to be much harder. I think RDS is going to have fun times with this, if I'm honest. And then we've got this instructions now with visualized kind of graphics to show you what's going on here. And one thing they were very proud of in this video, and obviously, as I said, go and watch the full video if you want to check this out in full, is that not only you're in possession and out of possession as options you can kind of pick between, but you can also see how things start with a build-up and then work out from there. And I think you can select, what they're telling us is you can select by area of the pitch to see how your shape will change. So that's very interesting. You can kind of see how things are going final third-wise, and you can tweak it as well. So if you want a different strategy for where the ball is on the pitch, you can really drill down here and really do something impressive tactically, which I think is going to be really interesting for those of us who like to have a good old tinker. I like the fact the data hub is here whilst you're setting your team instructions, so you can see what your team is good at and what your team does well. And apparently you will be able to just do an out-of-the-box kind of builder here as well. And you get to see them all on one page as well on your team instructions. So if you really want to tinker in, you can do. There's nothing here particularly new. They've just replaced the sliders with more kind of FIFA-y setups, which I don't know if I like. I think this is a bit that does feel more mobile gamey than anything we've seen before, but you know, they are trying to make it the cross-play a little bit smoother. I don't know if we're going to see anything else in this video. We are going to see a little bit else for us. So this is going to be our new tactic builder. You set your tactical style like you did on FM24. There's nothing new here unless there's something hidden under Catenaccio, but I assume it's much of a muchness in terms of the playing styles. Football hasn't really evolved that much in the last couple of years, but we've got more information of what you're actually going to see from your players here, so you can make those decisions, which is nice to see. And then apparently in the game, once you've selected your attacking tactical style and your attacking formation, will then suggest what you should be doing defensively after that, which is nice for people who really just want to pick up and play, or while we're trying to figure the system out, it will suggest like you should be going from a 4-3-3 to a 4-1-4-1 to really make this work, which is nice to see. That's going to be a really helpful thing for newer players. But I think that's the end of our highlights. It is the end of our highlights. One thing that I would like to see that hasn't been in FM for a while, I hope it is in here. I'm just trying to get us back to the other screen now. One thing I would like to see, and I'll be interested to see if it has been implemented somewhere along the way, is that I would like to see, I think it was in CM3 or 4, you used to have a player instruction, an individual player instruction to swap roles with another player, so you could have your right wing and your left winger crossover. And it was a really big thing at the time. Manchester United under Alex Ferguson did this quite a lot, where you would essentially have whoever was on the wing, let's say for argument's sake they had Giggs on the left, Ronaldo on the right, they would swap over and become inverted wingers at various phases of play, or you'd have this thing where whoever was playing as the 10 would rotate with those two, and you get these really unpredictable attacks that was really effective, and I loved being able to use that in FM. But we've not had it for a long time. I think with this, that could be really effective, because you could have a guy who out of possession is your right back, but in possession becomes your left inside forward, but is still switching across with the right-hand side to maybe provide some kind of defensive cover against counter-attacks. I think maybe that's the next logical evolution of this as a tactical structure, but it's going to be really interesting to see. It'll be really interesting to play with. We are, by my estimation, only about a week or two from having our hands on the game. I mean, it's the 9th today, right? 9th today? Is my brain getting that right? No, the 2nd today. So I expect we'll get one final trailer next week, and I'm expecting a beta release on the 9th, on the 16th. That's my expectation. A lot of people are saying that's their expectation as well. Maybe it comes next week, but I don't think it will. I think that's too soon. I think that's too ambitious, especially for what we're seeing. A lot of things don't quite look finished yet, so we'll see. But I'm very excited to get into it. But for now, that's everything from this video. Like, you've seen how little is in there, bar some talking. I can't really mine it too much, so we'll stop talking. In the description below, you'll find my link with an affiliate link. So if you want to buy the game early, get access to beta, you can do it at a slightly reduced rate. Just click on that, follow the instructions, do what you do, and I get a little bit of a kickback from it, which, helps out, I suppose, a little bit. Also, like, subscribe, and the bell if you haven't already, because that's really helpful. Leave comments down below. Tell what you think about what we've seen so far, what you'd like to see in next week's release, because presumably if we're not going to get a game, we're going to get some kind of visual of something next week. I don't know what it might be. I'm trying to think from previous FM release cycles what we haven't seen yet that we would normally see. Maybe something about revamped international football, assuming it's going to be in the game. I think that might be the release thing. That would be a big headline last release if they've put international football back into the game, which they said they were doing for 26, back before 25 got cancelled. That overhaul will be a really big deal. So I think that's what we'll get to see next week. I hope that's what we get to see next week, because as you guys who've been following the journey know, I love managing international football. I won the AFCON and the World Cup with the Ivory Coast in FM24. I'm quite excited for another crack at international football, especially with women's gaming, where it's a much bigger deal. I think it'll be really good. But I'm going to leave things now. I will be doing a video over the weekend of the 5 best teams to manage on the men's game. I did one for the women's game recently. If you haven't checked out, go check that out. Some stories for you to maybe finish. And for now, I'm going to leave it there. There will be some channel news coming as well. I'm thinking about doing something new with the channel. Nothing major, but, you know, I'll do an update as and when. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I have, as always, been Chasing Lanely. Till next time, as I said, like, subscribe, ring the bell, stay safe, and have a good one.